I'm Justin Davis, and this is Drone Camps RC. Alright guys, welcome back to the Drone Camp shop. Today we're looking at the K250, and this seems to be a new Floureon version of this quad. This quad came out as the Racer 250 probably 2 years ago, and it seems that this frame has been borrowed over its generations and changes. This still has the same plastic arms on here, but we have a few new upgrades on here, and I'll go ahead and talk about those really quickly. And I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of this frame as well in this review, and I'll let you know what the hell means here in just a minute. But let's just go over the good stuff, the good side of this frame. For beginners, absolute beginners, this is a really awesome quad. It has a lot of really easy features about it to work on. It has a really wide open body in here, and they've really gotten rid of a lot of gear in here. Years ago, they used to have a pretty large stack in here, and you had a lot of pins and everything hanging off here. With this whole entire bay was full of stuff. So they've made a nice change to this, and they've added this sort of single stack in here. They do have a PDB that runs the entire length of the quad all the way back here. So I see that as kind of a negative of this design, but it also makes it extremely easy to work on, especially for new guys. Everything is labeled in here. Even back here it has LEDs. With the LEDs connect, they're labeled. For your XT30 back here, not JST, positive and negative is clearly labeled on the board. You have a little spot right here, and you can run this 3 or 4S. You have a little spot right here for turning on and off your LEDs, and look at this rear LED bar. This is gigantic, and you've got headlights up front, but cool because you can turn them on and off on the fly just by that little switch right there. Now on the other side of the board as well, this is where it gets interesting. Now this flight controller right here, if you look at it close, there is no USB port on this flight controller. So how do you connect this to clean flight or beta flight? Good question. You have to connect this to clean flight 1.2 because it comes with firmware that is from 2015. So that's one of my what the hell comments for this quad. And it comes with this interesting little device. Now I'm not sure if you've seen one of these before, but I'll hold it up a little bit close. Now this comes in the box with it, and this is the way we used to do things. This is a USB converter, and these little pins right here have to plug in just like this. Now the way you do this is, if you buy one of these, start with this ground, and there's 2 grounds on the very end right here. You can see them labeled, and how they are coming off the end of this is the way they should all go on the pins. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. How they are in order here, starting with ground and 5-volt all the way over, is the way absolutely they should line up here. So you have your ground here. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus there. You have your ground here, your 5-volt right here, your TXD wire here, RXD right here, and DTR wire right here. And you're going to plug this end into the other side of the flight controller right here, and you're going to plug it in right there, and that's where you're going to hook it up to Clean Flight 1.2. So you're going to have to go back a version on Clean Flight, not 2.0. You actually have to download 1.2, and you can Google that and you can find that, but that's the only way you're going to be able to open up and set up your switches. Now I do have the FrSky version, but what I did was I actually took some little tiny tweezers here, and there's a two boot buttons right here, and they're not buttons, they're actually solder tabs. So you have to stick your tweezers in there and gently press and short out both of those two at the same time. Some of you guys have seen boot tabs before on flight controllers, and you know you can do it this way, or you can put a dab of solder on it to bridge them and make them short out. That tells the flight controller that it's in firmware bootloader mode, DFU mode for some of you guys. Now I was able to upgrade this to beta flight, and very nice. So now it has beta flight on here and it flies great, but there was one issue with my quad. Now I was very excited also that, like I said, there's some upgrades on here, and the upgrades are the ESCs are 30 amp BL Heli ESCs, and you get this cool Pagoda 2 antenna on here, running 5.8, and you get a really awesomely upgraded camera on here, 1000 TVL. So if you have goggles that support that, this would be a really rich camera to use. But let's talk about the main what the hell about this video and why I'm saying what the hell. I'm gonna show you. So this is what the hell number 1, what the hell number 2, and what the hell number 3 right there. My quad came with the front left motor twitching after half throttle. So something was wrong with either the ESC or the motor. And if you work on quads, you know that sometimes it's likely the ESC. So I started out with the ESC. I had a box full of ESCs, so I just started trying different ESCs. First one didn't work. Second one didn't work. Third one caught on fire and smoked. So that one was, you know, that one's not going to work at all. So my fourth ESC in this equation was a Lumineer ESC, very nice Lumineer ESC with BL Heli and all that good stuff. Very easy to solder up. There's 3 connections in there, as you can see. There's the red wire, white wire is the signal wire, and then the black wire is the ground wire. And then I just soldered the 3 motor wires up to this part right here. Now, you will have to go into BL Heli Suite to reverse the direction or make it the right direction. Also possibly updating the ESC to the latest current firmware in BL Heli Suite. But once you do that, it should be just fine. However, if you get yours and you have to go through this issue like I did, it's not the most pleasant experience, mainly because I didn't have the exact ESC to match these other 3. And in certain situations, that's okay. You can make things work. If you can get the firmware updated on the ESC and get the motor running smoothly and set the timing right on it for that particular motor to match the other motors, then you should be okay. And you're gonna do that all in BL Heli Suite. My suggestion to you would be is if you get this quad and you get a bad ESC, order the same exact ESC and put that on here, and you shouldn't have any issues like I did. So you shouldn't have what the hell number 1, 2, and 3. I also swapped out a motor for a very similar motor, but that was also not happening in this equation. Now, one nice thing is that this kit actually came with 4 regular self-tightening nuts, which was great because the other nuts that it came with were these 4 bullet type nuts, and you know, if you guys watch the channel before, you know I can't stand these actually are terrible. They fly off the top of the motor sometimes and will cause a crash. So get rid of the bullet nuts and use self-tightening. These aluminum nuts on the top will be way better, and these don't come off. But by the way, don't crank these down too tight because they get stuck really easily. Now let's go ahead and weigh this beast. It looks pretty big. So we're at 411 grams total weight. Now if I put this 3S 2200 on there, I'm well over 500 grams. I'm at 597 grams there, almost 600 grams. 1300 4S, and you're looking at 594 grams, so about the same weight. If you want to run a 3S 2200 on this, this is made to be a cruiser. It's not really a freestyle machine. It's not really a pro racer machine by any means. This is an absolute beginner quadcopter, and it's not really meant to be like a wild Lumineer high-end frame. Some people might pick on this frame because it's kind of a hog. It's kind of a giant quadcopter, but I've had people of all ages fly this particular type of frame, and this is a really good way to get off the ground, so to speak, and get your feet wet in FPV. And you're going to keep this for, you know, maybe 6 months. Maybe you fly it all the time, but most people buy these and then they move on to the next thing, something a lot snappier and quicker and more powerful, something like an X frame, after they dabble in FPV and decide it's for them. But this is a great way to decide if it's for you, essentially. But otherwise, if you're looking to, you know, rip and fly like Schizo or somebody out there that's one of your favorites, this is not really the quad for doing power loops or you know, tree flips. This is probably going to be a quad just for cruising. So in the very back of it, it will fit this 2200 all the way up inside here, but probably not the greatest place to put this because it can fly forward and damage the board right in front of it. So there's no wall protecting that flight controller right there. So you want to be careful about that. Where I would suggest putting your battery is put a little bit of Velcro right here, and there's a few notches right there. You can just run a battery strap around that and put your battery right there. Now the other bad thing about that spot is that it could fly forward and hit this antenna right here, but it's probably going to be just fine right there. The good thing is that it's probably not going to break the base of the antenna through there because it's hard mounted right here, so you should be just fine. But you got two different options. You can't fit the 4S battery back here, so probably going to be a top mount situation for you, and that way it also keeps the wires out of the way when you go to plug it in. But enough tech talk about this quad. Let's go outside and let's do a little flight test with this new Floureon K250 upgraded version. So here we go. This is 3S punch out right here, and we'll go ahead and flip into the FPV view. You see that other OSD kind of flickering there? I think that's coming from Betaflight, where I forgot to turn off the OSD in Betaflight. It's trying to compete with that OSD you see at the top of the screen. Now I'm flying on 3S right here, and it's actually really gentle on 3S. The rates aren't set super high on this quad, so it's kind of set up for an absolute beginner. If this is your first quad, you're going to have an easy time with this quad if you don't have the issue with the components that I had. If you have issues with that, please let me know. I'll try to help you out in the comments. If you're a Quad Club member, you can definitely get help. So I'm just cruising here on 3, and a very relaxing, easy flying experience. And I'm in stability right here, so it's really easy. Now this is 4S, and 4S is what you can move up to. If you get this quad and you want to have way more punch and more power in it and start playing around with your freestyle, you can do that with 4S on this quad. You see it jitter just a little bit on that flip, and I'll do this again, and it's going to flutter just a little bit when I come back down. And that's going through the prop wash because these are quite large props, and this airframe is not really meant for maneuvers like this. It's not really meant for freestyle, but I'm trying to see what it's capable of for you guys. So nice controlled low and fast. It's great low to the ground and has plenty of motor power on 4S, so you guys won't be disappointed by the punch outs. So I'm just cruising here, checking out the goalposts, and try to fly in some nice and slow, big wide open sweeping turns. And the OSD is nice. We have 14 volts, 15 volts over there on the top left. Middle is the flight time, and the right hand side is the VTX channel 1 and band A. That means what band you're on, if you see a letter there. And you can change that right behind the GoPro mount. There's a little button. If you long press it, you'll change the band. If you short press it, you'll change the channel that you're on. So that's kind of cool. You can change channel or band if you're flying with other guys. But like I said, this is not really a racer. This is more of a freestyle slash FPV trainer. I wouldn't really call it a freestyle quad. It's definitely an absolute trainer quad, but it's a lot of fun and very easy to fly, so that's what we're going for here. But thanks for hanging out at the field with me, you guys. This was a lot of fun flying this one, and I'm glad I finally got it set up. Like I said, if you have some issues with it, please post a comment or a question here on the channel. We'll try to help. See you on the next one.